Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right. A company that is a duplicate of Binford Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, Season 2 is here.
Season 2, we made it to Season 2. We had trouble getting Season 2 Episode 1 started. Just some issues behind the scenes, but we're ready to go. It feels familiar, but also new for me, much like this episode. And people will notice that with the new intro that we have. Hopefully people liked it. Some of our most popular phrases, mostly coming from you and the things that you say, are included in there. So
I had to fight to get you to put more of your own commentary in there. The original recording was really just me saying things. So I do think it turned out well, and hopefully people like it. I think we are still kind of soliciting for theme music. I think if someone were to email us something, we would probably use it, but we didn't get much action with that, so we decided to take matters in our own hands, a la Liam Neeson and Taken.
is this the way that you want to tell me that you don't like my effort at theme music? Is that what that is?
I think it's great, but we're going to need theme music. Assuming we make it through the whole series, we want to change the music every year, so we're going to need different music for Season 3. I don't know. Maybe
seems like a lot of work.
This sounds like something we should talk about off air.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, yeah, so what's been going on? We recorded 2 episodes back to back, so we haven't really chatted in a while about home and podcast, home improvement, our general
Jordan,
daily actions.
The biggest thing that's happened to either one of us over the last couple of weeks is you celebrated a birthday.
I got another year older, 1 year closer.
Another year older, a new one just begun. Or I guess it's another year over, a new one just begun. But I think, the point remains. You turned, do you want to say how old you turned, or is that kind of like a secret you want to...
I'm just a couple years older than the episode number that we're on.
You're just a couple years older than Mark, right?
Yeah. That's why I identify with him so much, because I feel like I'm living through his life right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard being a teen. We'll say that much, but I think you handle it really well.
I don't think he's a teen yet.
Well, you're a couple years older than him, though.
Okay, that's good.
I still think I'm confused on the... I think there's probably like a running gag over Season 1 where I just repeatedly speculate and or say the wrong name for each one of the kids. And you can expect that to continue into Season 2.
Mm-hmm. One thing that might change is that I'm getting a new mic. My wife got me a new mic, so that should come in soon, and hopefully I sound a little bit better. I know the audience will appreciate that, and I hope you do too.
Yeah, I will appreciate that, and you'll appreciate that when you don't have to go through and perhaps re-edit things and such. So a new mic will be good for all parties involved in the Home and Podcast. What'd you do for your birthday?
Well, it's kind of like a week-long celebration. So it was right after Thanksgiving, so we just kind of played it low-key. We went to one of my favorite restaurants for lunch, which is a Spanish place called...
Rainforest Cafe?
Yeah, I love the alligator there. It talks and it moves, and it's fantastic. No, it's called Columbia. It's pretty good. And then tonight we're gonna go out to eat and go see the new Fantastic Beasts movie. And then tomorrow I'm going to the local science center, and then going to like a luau dinner at Disney that I've always wanted to go to.
Can I ask you something? So Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. I already know where to find Fantastic Beasts, so is seeing the movie kind of a waste of time for me?
Well, maybe they'll show you other beasts that you don't even know about.
I know where all of them are at already, so I guess I can just kind of skip it out.
Maybe
right?
that's not for you then.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet because I already have the answer to the question. So
that's good. I figured they would consult you with the script since you know all of that stuff.
Well, I told him to put Eddie Redmayne in. I saw him in the Danish Grill, and I just said that kid's got something. So. Speaking of kids having something, let's go ahead and cue those grunts so as to perhaps hear from a man who's got something to say, got some talent, got some speculation, and got some science. So, Jordan, go ahead and cue those grunts for me.
Sure, it's all safe to me. Oh, no.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
This week's bit of wisdom comes from the Tim Allen text, "I'm not really here." Not a best-selling text, but a text nonetheless. This week's excerpt comes from the chapter entitled 4. I have another question. What is thinking? A facet of consciousness? Of ego? Bad digestion? A chemical reaction in the brain? Is it that which the mind does? Which is the mind anyway? Where is it found? How do people lose it? We generally agree it's in the head, except when we want to insult someone and we accuse them of having their mind in the gutter, between their legs and in their behinds. This has been your bit of wisdom.
Just exactly what I expected out of the chapter entitled 4.
Yeah, when you hear chapter 4, that's kind of what you're going to get. I think it's I always like the writing strategy of just asking questions and then not answering any of them.
Yeah,
that's how you satisfy all parties involved.
That's right. Everyone gets their own answer that comes out of their head. So that's good.
It's again, I'm not reading the book, but when I look for these bits of wisdom, I'm seeing some very, very strange things, and I wish that someone else would read the book and then just kind of summarize it for me. I don't know if that's something you're interested in doing.
I think maybe everyone would be more confused by reading more of that book.
Yeah, you might be right. It's he was like this chapter. He was, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I think he was going through his daughter's closet at one point. So I don't know. Seems kind of intrusive to me. And the chapter starts with an illustration of like a man holding a doll, and the doll is very, very horrifying. It's like Talking Tina from Twilight Zone, or like Chucky, or it's very, very scary.
It's not him though. It's a man.
It's an illustration. I mean, it's just like a man's arm. I'll take a picture of it and post it on Twitter.
Yeah, just
I'm not doing it justice.
People want to see things like that. They want to see the bird that I had in my shelf, all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that's got to show up.
I probably should have just had you send me that via like a text, because I'm not sure anyone knew what to make of that. But
I think I got some favorites. But, I don't know what that means. So
I just use my various Twitter accounts to favorite it a handful of times, just like I do the polls. That's how we get 10, 11 votes. So
I'm glad somebody answers. So
what are we covering this week, Jordan?
We are covering episode 25, Read My Hips. And this episode is sponsored by Stacy Castle, also known as @LikeTheFortress on Patreon. If you want to go ahead and support us there as well, it's patreon.com/HomeandPodcast. This episode was written by B.K. Taylor, who also did Baby It's Cold Outside, aired September 16th, 1992. And, we got the same guest stars that we've seen from last season, but you want me to go ahead and read the synopsis for you?
First, I want to say thanks, Stacy. Thank you very much for your commitment to us. And did I make a Burger King Taylor joke last season with regards to BK Taylor?
I mean, if you didn't, now's the greatest time to do so.
I mean, that's the joke, essentially, BK Taylor. I feel like I did, but when I see BK, that's what I think of. In terms of the title of the episode, did you understand the cultural reference? I did not.
You mean like Read My Lips?
Yeah, but it comes from something, apparently.
No New Taxes, right?
Yeah, you knew that, or did you see that on IMDb?
I knew that. Sorry.
Really? All right. Well, if you didn't know that, the title comes from the pledge by candidate George Bush during the 1988 presidential campaign, Read My Hips, no new tax. No, read my lips, no new taxes. No. It'd be funnier if he said "read my hips."
No wonder he only got one term.
That's why we brought in the Clinton. It's funny. How'd you know that? Is that something that people just know, or?
I follow various political things, and that's about as specific as I'm going to get.
About as specific as you want to get. Fair enough. All right, I don't blame you. So yeah, Read My Hips. You went through all the details, and you wanna give us a synopsis?
Yep, written by Tony Topola. So he's or she. I don't know why I keep saying he, but
definitely a woman.
That's just kind of a carryover from season 1. So I want to keep the
androgynous, gender fluidity on Home and Podcast. That's what people come here for.
That's right. So in Tool Time, it's a salute to Safety Week. The guys from K&B Construction are back for a safety demonstration. Tim reads a letter from a viewer who thinks Tim has taken the show too far with all the macho grunting stuff. Tim burns the letter with a construction use flamethrower. At home, Randy teases Brad about Jennifer wanting to kiss. Jill has prepared a surprise romantic evening for 2, but Tim goes from Tool Time to a bar with the construction workers. And Tim is so thick that he can't take a hint when he calls home.
He's
And-
so thick.
He's so thick, and Jill says that she is really looking forward to seeing him and listening to Billie Holiday while waiting. I mean, how more obvious can you be?
How much longer is this?
One more sentence. Here we go. He promises to be at home in 15 minutes, but actually arrives after 2 hours. Jill isn't pleased. ...
As usual, a lot more going on in that summary than was in the actual episode. But thank you, Tony, with an I, for sharing that. Thank you, Jordan, for reading it. Let's get into the episode, shall we?
Let's do it. The episode starts with something new for season 2, something we haven't seen before, and that's a cold open.
I couldn't believe it. As I told you, I thought I watched this on a. I just watched it on the computer. I didn't have the DVD, so I watched it from a website. I'm not going to name the website, but kind of a sketchy endeavor, I think. So I just assumed that they had cut out the opening scene.
I watched it from the DVD, and I thought I missed something. I thought there was like a skip in the CD, but no, they start with a cold open scene, a la Parks and Rec.
A la the majority. I mean, The Office, a lot of like more modern comedies. Is this going to be the norm moving forward? I don't know.
I think it might be. I think they're going to try something different for season 2.
I mean, do you think it happens for the rest of the series?
It's a good question.
I kind of think it might.
I think it might too.
Someone will tell us.
Someone will. I kind of don't want them to, because I think we're to the point in the series where I don't remember a lot of what's going to happen. So
had you seen this one before?
I don't remember it.
I don't think so. I don't think I had either. Yeah.
So
I remember season 1 and then a lot of like late stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think as I got older, like you have more of a memory of things, but I don't think I'd seen this one. So yeah, the cold open has Tim and Al, and it's safety week on Tool Time rather.
Yeah, salute to safety. Did you before we talk too much about the scene? Did you see the short jeans that was on one of the cameramen filming this?
No.
Oh my gosh, you might need to rewatch that just because it's at the start of the episode. You'll see it really quick. It's fantastic.
Do you think, and maybe we've talked about this, that the cameramen for Tool Time are the cameramen for Home Improvement? Or do you think they're actors acting like cameramen?
You think? Well, I guess I'm guessing they do double duty.
I suspect so as well. I think that would make the most sense. But...
Yeah, I don't know why you would hire separate actors. It's not like they do anything in particular.
Well, there is there's like a noticeably bigger budget in the second season, so they could probably afford to bring in some. I want to be one of the camera operators, like guys acting like they're operating a camera. It's probably harder than I think it would be. But
I don't think so. But like you said, it does seem like everything's newer, brighter, bigger, better.
Bigger sets.
Tim's voice seems lower to me. I don't know if that's because I listened to some episodes on like a chipmunk speed before, and that sounded different.
It's because that website, or if you watch them on that website, sometimes like condenses them down to make it shorter or something, so everyone talks faster. So maybe you were just used to that. I didn't notice that so much, but I did think Tim looked older in the second season.
Yeah, not wiser necessarily.
The boys as well. Obviously.
Yes.
Not wiser. So you wanna start things off here?
Yeah. So we're in the Salute to Safety Week. Safe workplace is a happy workplace. The K&B boys come out, so it's good to see them again.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you.
Well, I would say they don't do much in this scene.
Well, so. Jordan, they were just in the last episode, so this is now 4 out of the first 25 episodes have featured these guys. Well, it's just too much of a good thing at this point. They might as well have them in the opening credits.
They're saturating the market with the K&B boys.
They don't do anything in this episode, so yeah. I mean, I'm all about those guys being on the show, but they should probably
tone it down.
Either pick and choose or have something better for them to do than this, because there just wasn't a lot going on here.
At some point, they have to work in Bay City, I feel like.
Seemingly, but not necessarily the case yet.
But they claim to have, done so, although they had 194 days of no accidents, and then Pete dropped a red-hot rivet on Dwayne's head. So we get the comedy that is Dwayne taking off his helmet and having like a little bandage over that. So
what's a rivet?
What's a rivet?
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Oh, I don't really know. I would assume it's the shape of what's gone through his helmet, but I don't really... Isn't it used to, like, hold things together?
A short metal pin or bolt for holding together 2 plates of metal. It's headless and being beaten out or pressed down when in place.
I have a lot of random knowledge. That's what I'm learning here. Read my hips, rivets.
Don't give yourself too much credit.
I'm gonna, pride comes before the fall.
So
here,
yeah, there was a rivet accident, and there's a visual gag where he dropped it through Dwayne's hard hat, and then he takes off his hat, and then
I feel like it would have done a lot more damage if it went through that helmet.
Yeah, probably. Tim's got a letter
from Charles Eddington.
Just like Home Podcast, Home Improvement wants listener mail, apparently, or they solicit it, and he got a letter from Charles Eddington in Grosse Pointe. I looked up the name Charles Eddington to see if there was any significance there. There was not. I'm putting my best foot forward for the first episode of the season so that the rest of the season I can just slowly put
coast by.
less and less effort in. The letter essentially is gripes that perhaps people actually had about the show at the time. I kind of wondered if this was in response to anything.
That's kind of what I thought too. Do you think this was a response from the show's critics?
Maybe it was like something, like a newspaper article or something. But essentially, it was the masculinism has gone too far. The grunting. What else does he say? Like, essentially, just like
the show makes him
the macho
sick.
mentality makes him sick, and he's tired of it. Which, again, you would just say like change the channel or don't watch this public access show. But he felt compelled to write a letter. Tim, he says, well, should we stop grunting? The K&B boys, a definite no. They like the grunting. And then Tim says he's going to take it up with the complaint department. And what happens next, Jordan?
Oh, it's something real funny. Lisa brings out a flamethrower and hands him over the end that spits out the fire. Asks Al to hold it. I don't think so, Tim. He puts it in a vice grip and then incinerates the letter. So he calls Charles Chaz at one point and Chucky a couple times.
And Charlie, yeah.
And Charlie. So, he's not really giving Charles Eddington a lot of respect.
Disrespectful, yeah. You didn't think this was funny?
Not really. It just seemed kind of jarring. And
it was weird. Like, the close-up camera shots of his face were kind of strange, and at one point he, approaches the actual camera and gets close. Yeah, it was weird to me.
It was weird, and then it has nothing to do with the rest of the show, too, so... I guess that's what happens with cold open sometimes. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan. It was whatever. But let's move on to the show's new intro. Did you spend a lot of time looking at the new intro and seeing some of the differences? Because I did.
Define a lot of time.
Well, I watched
a couple
them
things to
side
say.
by side.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow, you're making me look bad. I wrote that it's exciting that it's changed, but now I can't skip it anymore because I have to.
You got to find something different.
It's a lot easier. It's harder to skip because when it was the beginning of the episodes, you could just kind of find the first scene and you don't have to watch it. But now they've made it more difficult for me to do that. Boo-hoo, I know. Big change as well. I think the kids are all older. Randy's hanging from a tree on some sort of a rope. I thought that was real cool. You got Brad standing by the TV. He's about a foot taller. He's shooting up like a weed. You got Wilson. He wasn't in it last season. He's hanging by the fence, and then you got Al and Tim doing some kind of a construction project. So you got Richard Karn in those opening credits as well. So all in all, there's some big changes here.
Yeah, there's a goose that appears next to Wilson, which is he likes to hold up wooden ducks and geese and whatever else to do weird things. The lettering has changed a little bit. I think they tried to slim it down so you could see more of the kids. Like you said, they have some new scenes. They have the same kind of stuff with the boys as far as Randy's swinging on a rope, I think, in the first one, but this time he's swinging towards the camera.
Yeah, that's cool.
Brad's got a full mullet going on. Jill's got different hair.
I don't know when you want to talk about that hair, and I guess we only really have to talk about it once.
It's shorter. It's not my taste. I will say that.
It's a product. You gotta assume it's a product of the times, but it's like a short. Would you call it a perm?
Yeah, I would call it like a perm.
Yeah, short hair permed. It's not so great, but we aren't experts on hair or early '90s fashion by any means. So we're not gonna, I'm not gonna make fun of her or anything. But it was surprising to see it the first time. And,
she's had it long for that whole season. I think I like it better than that side ponytail that she did in the first season quite a few times.
I don't think I like it better than anything.
I was also going to say, instead of the boys running around in a circle and then morphing into each other, They changed it so that the boys move around like you would in like a shell game, when you're
Oh yeah, shell game.
I don't know what they're
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
like the
guess.
game where you like put something under a cup or whatever, and then
Yeah.
you try to have them guess the cup. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And one thing that they did keep, which I know you loved, was the scene where like there's pinwheels and stuff attached to the Home Improvement logo. But instead, like everyone's looking up and kind of astonished, Mark and Randy especially. But Brad looks a little bit frightened this time. So I'm not sure if that comes with age or what's going on.
I would just love to have the person that sort of made that opening credit sequence or did the graphics for that on air, so I could just kind of have them walk me through what
What's
they think is happening there, or what effect that's meant to have. Because I've been watching this show on again, off again for like 20 years or something, and I still can't make heads nor tails of it.
Yeah, and at the very end, I can't quite explain what happens here, but Jill says something at the very end, and it sounds...
I know, yeah.
I listened to it probably 5 times.
I couldn't tell if it was part of the episode or if it was because it's inaudible.
Yeah, it sounds like, what do you think? Do we put the kids on the roof? That's what it sounds like to me.
Did you turn on the subtitles and listen to it that way?
Ooh, I don't know. Do they have subtitles on the DVDs? I'll do it next time.
They for sure do.
Because I listened to it 5 times. I turned up my volume all the way. I could get almost everything except for the last word. I can't tell if it's roof or what. So if anyone knows what that is,
so what you think she's saying?
What do you think? Do we put the kids on the roof? Which for me,
so what else could it be besides roof? What do we think? Can we put the kids on the? I mean, what other options are there?
I don't know.
What rhymes with roof, Jordan?
Is she trying to make the kids float away?
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. I don't know the ramifications of this, but I'm not gonna guess until we figure out what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
So
right.
we'll something we'll keep an eye on. But yeah, new intro for season 2. New intro for us. A lot to go over there, and I'm not sure if the changes were good or bad, but they certainly were evident.
Oh, I think they're good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life.
Sure is. So we'll move on from the intro to the next scene. We're at the Taylor home. Jill is putting some flowers on the table. She's excited. She's setting up a romantic evening. And Mark asks why she didn't do it in front of the TV, which I thought was pretty funny. Randy is spying.
Yeah? Did you?
Hey, there were a lot of little lines that I liked in this episode. And maybe it's just because I was excited to do season 2. But
There were... I don't think there were any little lines I liked in this episode, but maybe I'm wrong, and you'll jog my memory on some of them. Yeah, you got Jill prepping for a saucy night at home. She's sending the kids away. The kids are packing their bags. They're going to Tim's mother's house, if I'm not mistaken. You got Randy. Rather, you have Brad and Jennifer in the side yard, and
Randy's spying.
Randy spying, as he has been for a very long time. I think he needs to kind of like get a hobby, get himself a young girl, or do whatever you need to do, but get over it, man. And he reports that Brad and Jennifer are about to kiss. And Brad is so much taller.
And he is, but Jennifer's even taller than him.
That's crazy. These kids, they grow up so fast.
They sure do. Jennifer comes inside. I think they decide that it's time for her to leave. But they decide that she's going to come to his next pickup football game in the park, which is something that we used to do every Thanksgiving, invite girls to our football games.
I didn't invite any girls to our Thanksgiving. You did, and you would occasionally get some spectators.
They always showed up, let me just tell you that.
It's just, I guess, just a lack of things to do in a small Midwestern town. Yeah, when she said she was going to come to that, like, watch Brad play pickup football, that's when you knew it was true love, because you got to really love someone to want to watch them, like, essentially practice a sport, right? Because it's not, it's not organized or anything, but, maybe there's not a lot going on.
A 2-on-2 football game, possibly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Brad's probably not putting a lot of time into organizing. So yeah, 2v2.
Brad,
I mean, all I wrote down for the notes after this was shaved a cat. So I do remember now. So Jill says that that Brad is too young to be kissing anyone, and she's probably right. And she said, there's other things that you should be doing first, like shaving, another thing. And then Brad says, I shave, and then Randy said, yeah, shaved a cat. And they cut away, and I'm thinking, like, story?
Yeah, there's got to be more to what happened there.
I mean, that's not something we've seen, so, like, either Tell us more or don't tell us anything.
Hey, this is one of the lines that I liked because it left a lot as far as what could have
since
happened.
the last time we recorded? Your birthday has made you just, I don't know, your humor has changed. You're resorting back to like Tim having a table stuck on his head or something.
I'm less of a cynic at this old age, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Usually it's the opposite that happens.
yeah, I'm just trying to buck the trend. But we'll go to the next scene where we get to see another set that we saw quite a bit of last season, or I guess a couple episodes.
Twice, yeah.
We're at Big Mike's Tavern, and we're with Tim, Al, and the K&B boys. So they apparently went here after a good show, after a nice burning fest that they had. They're playing a game called the Peanut Plunge, which essentially is putting peanuts into a bowl by putting them down like a measuring tape. The bowl is on the ground, and you have to get them into the bowl through your measuring tape.
It doesn't seem like it would be that hard.
It doesn't. I noted that when Pete counts up the score from the first one, he does it.
Yeah,
he does
very
it by
quickly.
He does it by sight, and I was thinking that he should do one of those jelly bean jars where you guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, because it seems like he's pretty good at that kind of thing.
I'm glad you brought this up, and I don't know if you noticed my tweet maybe a month or so ago, where my chiropractor's office had one of those. It was candy corn in the jar, and I guessed 275, and it was 273, and I won it.
Wow! So you got all the candy corn?
Yeah, and I still have all the candy corn because
nobody wants that.
I mean, I've maybe had 50 pieces out of the 273,
Ooh.
but yeah, it's. I mean, I like candy corn to an extent, sure, but it's an overwhelming amount. But yeah, I don't. The only reason I brought that story up was to brag about it. So I hope that you're impressed and the listeners are impressed as well.
You said it was a chiropractor?
Yeah, Jordan, I don't want to get
into
is your
back okay?
I don't want to get into. You've already made me talk about the dermatologist. I would say that my back is kind of sore from carrying this podcast for a whole season.
Shots fired!
Ow! 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 Douche! Douche! Douche!
I think I'm gonna let you do the editing next time around.
I don't have the software. The peanut game. He counts those peanuts just
instantly.
It takes you longer to count 15 and 14 peanuts than
Does
that.
It by sight?
Yeah, I don't know about that. The K&B. So Tim wins. He's the peanut champion. He walks over to the phone to call his wife, and the K&B boys, they're giving him crap for it. They're like, "You mean to tell me you got to check in with the little lady?" And I was thinking, I thought they really were kind of reverential towards Jill. If you remember Up Your Alley, like they really got along well with her. So the fact that they would be kind of making fun of Tim for doing that didn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what brings it out of them. I guess because they need to, as far as the plot goes.
Yeah, I think generally. I also was trying to see if it was the same barkeep from Birds of a Tailor Flock. No, I always do that. Birds of a Feather Flock to Tailor, and I don't think it was. Did you, or did you not look at that?
I didn't look at it as closely as I should have.
It was an African American guy. I just don't think it was the same guy.
Okay, yeah, that's probably true. I thought it was a shorter guy last time. That's the only thing I noticed. But people keep growing up in this show, so who knows? He could have got taller as well.
Time, man, it's a flat circle. Tim calls Jill, and he tells her that he's going to be home in 15 minutes. She's flirting pretty hard, but at the same time, I kind of felt like I could understand how Tim wasn't picking up on these hints. And maybe you'll disagree with me, but essentially, like, she's flirting and saying, like, "When are you coming home? Come home soon. I really miss you." And he says, "I'll be home in 15 minutes." And then someone hands him a beer, and he does intend... Rock hands him a beer, and then he intends to leave, but then Al challenges him to the peanut plunge game. And then
he's the only person he hasn't beat so far.
Right, and then we cut away. So it's we don't get a ton of Al in this episode, but I think you can kind of slowly start to see the transition of Al from like doofus and like just sentimental kind of
he's coming into his own right
train
now.
wreck, but I think he's going to be cooler moving forward.
He's going to be cooler. His hair is a little bit more unruly, I noted. It looks a little bit longer maybe, and he isn't keeping it quite as nice as usual. So he's kind of letting loose. He's at the bar here with the guys. I think maybe one of the reasons that Tim doesn't really catch everything here is that he's also kind of being distracted by the people around him. So maybe he's just not quite focused. But yeah, she's flirting pretty hard. It seems like he should have picked it up, but
yeah.
2 hours later, we see Jill at home, and she's upset, and Tim finally arrives. The lights are off, and he kind of turns on the lights and sees what he missed. And Jill is kind of ignoring him. Jill kind of initially is ignoring him, but now she starts to work up into a lather of anger, I guess you would say.
You would, but no one else.
No one else, because I coined those phrases. And, she talks about taking the kids to her mother-in-law's and setting up all this stuff. And really, she says it was his idea because... Well, I don't know if she says it here or different. I think this is a different scene where they talk about this.
Later on she says it was
shouldn't
his
say
idea.
that. But
don't count your chickens before they hatch.
That's right. So
she's mad, and it's
Tim's trying to say that he was getting into conversations about sharing feelings and relationships.
Tim is not handling the situation well.
No, but
he just keeps saying very foolish things.
But this is also basically the same argument that we had last season with Birds of a Feather flock to Taylor.
Yeah, it's sort of a similar episode in a couple of regards. Big Mike's kind of is a catalyst for a fight that ensues, and it's the same kind of thing where she says he's not listening. He says, how could I hear you if you don't just like outwardly tell me? It's very, very similar. Except I think in this case, Tim is probably more at fault than he is in that episode.
I would agree. I also think they execute this one better, but we'll talk about that later. So, home the next day, Brad and Dad are sitting there as Tim cooks. And Brad is a little bit nervous. He's wondering about this kissing notion that he's getting from Jennifer and from Randy. He's asking, if a girl punches you, does she want to kiss you? There's a difference between an uppercut and a short jab. Brad is wearing a nice shirt. I thought you might notice that.
The Lions just recovered a fumble!
Oh, he's always supporting the hometown team. And, they talk a little bit more about this kissing thing. And Brad gets the feeling that him and his dad, Jill and his dad agree that he's a little bit too young, and I think he kind of feels the same way. At least he's nervous. He
seems afraid of the prospects of her kissing him or him kind of having to kiss her. Don't rush into kissing is kind of the message there. Then the kids all sort of go outside, and then Tim and Randy have an exchange. Tim has made himself a breakfast, and Randy would like some, but Tim says, "Hey, that's for me." And Randy says, "You're mad at Mom. You're taking it out on me." As he walks away, the audience gets a real kick out of that. And then Jill comes down, and she assumes that Tim made the breakfast for her, and she's ready to forgive him, kind of spot on sight.
She's ready to apologize for.
Yeah, she's ready to apologize, and then she's kind of forgiving him, and she starts to eat the breakfast, and Tim leads her to believe that he did in fact make it for her. Then Randy comes back in, and as he does, he foils the plan by saying, "How come you let Mom eat your eggs, but I couldn't?" And then she is once again upset with him. Too much fighting in this episode for me. They just start fighting again.
Jill spins into another fight here, and this is what I was saying earlier. She tells him it was his idea. They were watching an Ingrid Bergman movie, and he says it would be nice if they had a fancy dinner, or if they did that, because they were doing a fancy dinner on the screen, but he meant talking with accents. He didn't mean that they should have a nice dinner, which what do we have to say about that?
So stupid.
It's so strange. Yeah, and then Tim goes on to say he can't read her mind. So we've had this, like you said, we've had this fight before, a lot of fighting in the early part of this episode. So we'll move to the next scene where we're back on Tool Time. Tim has his Timbo hat on again. He's using Al as kind of a testing dummy, hitting him in the head when he has his safety hat on, messing with the safety glasses, all that kind of stuff. And he's going to go on one of his signature rants where he's talking about communication in the workplace has to be clear and direct. But he says that women aren't as clear with their signals, and he uses a stop sign as an example. If a man created a stop sign, it would just say stop. If a woman had a stop sign, it would say, if you knew me, you'd know what you should be doing right now. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Nail on the head. I just wrote Safety Week continues in my notes, so apparently I wasn't planning on having a lot to say about this.
I thought it was kind of funny, I guess.
I was pretty bored by this. I was bored by this whole thing. I know you. I can tell you liked it, but I was pretty bored by all of it. I mean, I should have taken better notes, certainly, but...
You also did disclose to me that you only really watched it once, so...
Well, I had some other things going on the second time I watched it, but that's not unusual for me. We're back in the side yard, and we noted earlier that the budget's a little bit bigger and the sets are different. The side yard has been expanded quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah, they got some extra furniture out there.
They got furniture, it's larger, yeah. And Brad and Jennifer are it's very quick, but they are about to kiss. I mean, they are like
They're
Brad
back from the football game.
Yeah, Brad has kind of hurt himself a little bit, and they kind of ease in together, and they're about to kiss, and then Tim walks outside and startles them, and well, the whole thing is nil. Tim's looking for Jill. He is like, he asks, who does he ask? He asks.
Well, he asks Brad,
and then Jennifer leaves.
Brad doesn't know, but Mark is in the tree
Mark's
with
in the
Randy,
tree.
hiding.
Yeah, he says like, where'd your mom go? And then Mark yells from the tree that she went to the store or something. And then it's been, obviously the joke is that Randy and Mark are spying on Brad from the tree, and then they get down, and yeah, that's essentially it.
you really like this episode. Yeah, so they're being sneaky, trying to embarrass their brother. Brad's gonna walk Jennifer home, and so pretty much everyone leaves the scene. I think Tim shoos off the other kids to go pick on someone else or try to embarrass someone else.
You know that when
Tim's alone in the backyard,
people scatter in that backyard, you know what's gonna happen, and it sure as heck happens. Wilson is singing Billie Holiday. Do you know much about Billie Holiday?
No, I mean, he's singing It Had to Be You, right?
That would be the only song I would have known. Yeah, he's singing It Had to Be You.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't know. You have kind of noted a couple times that you like jazz, or your dad exposed you to a lot of jazz, so I didn't know if that was...
Yeah, I don't know that I ever noted that I like jazz.
I think it's been implied.
I think you're reading into things. But yeah, Wilson is singing, and he's having a good time. He's practicing some cross-pollination. And before we talk too much, we'll go ahead and play our first clip of this episode.
Tim, I think I hear a problem.
If you got a minute, Wilson, listen. Jill says she's sending out signals that I'm not picking up. I say the signals are so subtle, no man could pick them up.
Well, Tim, I think men are capable of grasping very subtle ideas.
What are you saying?
Well, maybe not all men. Tim, you're putting a bored-out, small block 350 engine into your hot rod, right?
You bet I am. 400 crank, 30 to a 383.
Oh, that's a very complex piece of machinery.
400 ponies. Holly double pumper. Yeah, you betcha. 2200 RPM stall converter. Purrs like a kitten. Maybe a big cat.
Now, if something went wrong with that engine, you'd be able to hear it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
King, king, bing, ding, ding, ding. Metal-to-metal noises. Valve train. Maybe camshaft lower end. Bad news. Arcing sounds, always electrics. If it's just dead, you can pick up on this stuff.
Well, that's very, very subtle. Must be hard to pick up on that.
Now, if you're tuned in, really paying attention. Oh, yes, me. It seems like it's always me. Yeah.
All right, so Jordan, have you ever seen Grease 2?
I have. I didn't know this was coming. Yeah, I've seen it.
Do you know why I am referencing it?
I only saw it once because it was terrible.
It's really bad, but there's that song where they sing like reproduction. It's like in the biology class, and they're talking about like stamens and
Pistils and stamens?
Yeah, pistils and stamens. Yeah, exactly. You don't remember that?
No, I don't. I'm glad
it has
you brought
Christopher
it up,
McDonald in the scene from For Whom the Belch Tolls.
Who else is in that movie?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer. There's somebody else that I can't remember, but yeah, it's a really bad second film.
It's a terrible. It's really hard. It shares little resemblance to Grease 1, but I do always kind of enjoy watching that scene.
Good. I might try to find that one on YouTube just to.
Yeah, it's a good refresher. Yeah, it reminded me of this. But I'm gonna let you kind of talk about what this is. So go ahead.
Yeah, let's get back to the actual scene here and not what happens in Grease 2. But yeah, Wilson's discussing some cross-pollination techniques that he's doing. He's singing,
does the pollen go? That's what they say in Grease 2. Sorry, keep going.
Jeez. We're not going to be able to get through this episode with interruptions like that. But
yeah, I apologize.
It's all right. So Wilson, Tim starts discussing the signal problems that he seems to be having, some cross signals between him and his wife. Wilson uses the analogy that Tim is actually a pretty good listener if he actually pays attention and is interested in the subject. And he uses an analogy of a hot rod engine to do so. The subtle noises that kind of come with maybe metal on metal or something else happening within the engine. And Tim quickly realizes that he needs to focus a little bit more on his wife than he does, and that it's really his problem here and not his wife's. So.
Some prolonged grunting at the end of the scene. Not only is he grunting, he's grunting as he's talking, and he's grunting sort of some Billie Holiday lyrics as well. So, did you like that?
Well, I mean, he kind of uses them to say that it's always him.
Right. So, but did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, you just like this episode.
It wasn't. It wasn't just the normal grunts. I think he did something different with it. But
we haven't grunted in a while. Do you want to try?
It's been a while.
Like since the second episode, because I'm so bad at it.
Well, does that mean you want to do it or no?
No, I want you. I want us both to. You go first.
Okay.
It's still so bad. It's still
you're
so
just
bad.
Still pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, it still sounds like Scooby Doo. Whatever.
So
It is what it is. Final scene. All right, I have some things to say on this.
About darn time.
As I said off air, you are kind of the Abbott of the podcast, and I'm the Costello. You're the straight man, and I'm going to come in with some comedy every now and then. That's why the opening sequence, our show tunes, are mostly just excerpts of things I say, because you're busy sort of explaining the plot and helping people understand, giving the episodes coherence.
You're not here to do that. That's not what you're
just
about.
like, that's just not what I'm here for. That's not what people want out of me.
Mm-mm.
One of the final scenes, the door. There's a knock at the door.
Who's there?
Jill answers, and it's Fred. It's Fred, the repairman, and it's Tim in a blue workman suit. It's a full suit. It's blue. It looks cool. He walks in and she says, "Tim, what are you doing?" And he says, "My name is Fred. I'm the repairman. I'm here to fix your telephone. I've heard
faulty
that there's
wires.
Faulty wires. Messages are not getting through." I don't know about you, Jordan, but this seemed like kind of a metaphor to me.
Are you sure?
I think they are trying to draw parallels between the telephone and their own miscommunication. I might be wrong.
That just flew right over my head.
Yeah, so Tim comes in and he starts messing around with the phone. It's oddly a very sexual
Fred
scene.
comes on to Jill right away.
Yeah, Fred's hitting on Jill. He says, "Do you like gladiator movies?" Do you know what that's from?
I just assumed it was because they watched a gladiator movie in the first season.
No, it's a line from Airplane.
Oh,
But it's a weird joke because it's an old man asking like a young boy if he likes gladiator movies, and it's like pedophilia, sort of. Like the joke is that he's like hitting on the boy. So it's an odd joke to make in this episode, but it's still a kind of a classic line. Tim is apologizing as he fixes the phone, and I mean, she is coming on to him pretty hard at the end.
Yeah, she likes Fred. She likes
Fred. She's ready to bed Fred.
Well done.
They should have put that in the episode. The only she starts trying to give him signs near the end of the scene, and I think the only time I laughed was when she I don't know, she does something with her shoulders.
The weird shoulder move.
She's like, "Are you picking up on this?" And he's like, "You have rotator cuff issues." I thought that was
the best part.
That was funny. And
then he does the hand signals.
And says, "Are you trying to steal second?" They embrace, and then the typical Home Improvement going too far. The phone rings, and smoke comes out of it, and the ring kind of just dies off. So it's as if he somehow messed up the phone, and
by just opening
whatever
the
we said earlier about the budget being higher. This phone gimmick does not showcase that at all.
The good news is that usually they spend a lot longer on things like this, and they really only do it for about 2 seconds, and then they move on. So if you're looking for a silver lining, that's it. That's what it is.
Silver lining playbook.
Oh boy, not again. Next scene, outside, Tim and Jill are laying out some outdoor furniture that they've got with this expanded budget, I guess. They're reminiscing about the first kiss that they had, which was outside of, I believe, her dorm, and they were after they watched Casablanca. So
yeah, but Tim can't remember if it's Casablanca or That Darn Cat. He always gets them mixed up.
I mean, who doesn't? They're so similar. So
that was funny. That was funny though, because that is a joke that someone thought that was a good joke, and they make it, and no one laughs in the audience. And we know that the studio audience of Home Improvement notoriously willing to laugh at bad jokes, and that one just got absolute silence.
Nothing for that one. Didn't land for some reason. I can't imagine why, but they talk more. Tim hesitated with the first kiss. He messed up the tilt, and we get again that Mark and Randy are outside spying because Mark starts singing the classic mom and dad sitting in a tree, KSSING, but really Mark and Randy are in a tree, and Randy lets him know that. Randy calls his brothers stupid and doofus and several different disparaging names in this episode, so he's really got to clean it up, I think.
I think so too, Jordan.
Sounds like you're excited for the next scene, which is the final scene of the episode, which is basically just outtakes of
Straight bloopers.
Straight bloopers. They're back at the scene where Tim is going to hit Al on the head with the hammer to talk a little bit more about safety on tool time. So, yeah, not super funny, but it is the end of the episode. Episode 25, Read My Hips.
Written by B.K. Taylor.
B.K. Taylor. So, let's get into highs and lows. It sounds like you didn't like this episode, so you might have some lows.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like it. It was too much like birds of a feather flock together. The fight was very much the same. He's at Big Mike's again. I just never like these episodes where they're fighting the whole time. I guess that is very much the Home Improvement formula, one could argue. But some episodes, I don't know, just sometimes it goes too far, and it's just like, I don't know, it's annoying to watch them just bicker back and forth. What else did I dislike? Oh, I don't know. Brad and Jennifer Sudarsky is fine. Randy was being kind of mean the whole episode. I just didn't really get any laughs, I guess. Yeah. Fundamentally, I just didn't laugh very much. And
you were in a very sour mood the first time or the only time you watched this.
I watched it twice, and the first time, was I in a sour mood? I don't know. It was the end of a long day, maybe, but I didn't laugh anymore this morning.
Well, that's because you had a pressing appointment. You just couldn't worry about it.
Yeah, Friday is appointment day for me. It's my only day for such things. I just didn't find anything to be that funny, and I don't like plots that are similar to other plots, especially ones that we just saw like 10 episodes ago. So K&B Construction Boys, like if you're going to use those guys, give them something to do, because I mean they've been on.
They got to drive all the way from Bay City.
What did I say? 4 times out of the first 25 episodes or something. So. It's just their appearance at the beginning of this episode served no real purpose, and
just basically to be in the bar scene afterwards.
Yeah, that could have been anybody. I feel like I don't know. I guess that Al, I guess it couldn't have just been Al, because Al's not going to give him trouble for talking to his wife. But yeah, I was just bored by this one.
You were bored. And did you have any highs? Did you?
I guess right. I liked it when Tim. I guess the scene with Fred the repairman was okay.
I liked that scene.
That was fine.
I liked it.
No real highs for me, to be honest.
I liked a lot of the jokes that he did in that scene better, because they weren't like his stupid women voice. You know what I mean? The nagging woman voice that he does. It was a different kind of comedy, which I liked. I liked how they resolved that situation better than they have in the past, where. Like, there's no resolution. Like, all of a sudden, Jill apologizes and they're fine. So I liked that. Like you said, it was a super familiar plot that we just covered. But, you know, I thought it was a little bit new. They had some new things going on. I didn't really like the cold open. I thought that was strange. And, just a little too much for me for that. But like I said, I liked the jokes a little bit better in this episode. You didn't. That's fine. We have different feelings about the episode, and that's okay. So
rare that we are so far apart on an episode. But
I don't think
feel
we're
like we
that
are here.
far apart.
You really liked it, and I didn't like it at all. How much farther apart can you get?
I don't know that I just didn't. Okay. A lot of the episodes I felt like were middle of the road that we've covered, and I thought this was a little bit better than that.
Okay. Yeah. So you in your eyes, season 2 starting off with kind of a bang.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, that's Read My Hips. And Jordan, where are we going to go next? What do you want to talk about?
Let's get social.
Let's get a little social. Sure.
Let's get a little social. So, we're in season 2. We're looking to continue to develop some relationships with people. So you can go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter at HomeandPodcast, Facebook.com/HomeandPodcast. We talked a little bit before about the sponsors of this podcast for this episode, Stacey Castle. We want to thank her again. And anyone else, if you're interested, go to our website. You'll see the support tab. Go to patreon.com/HomeandPodcast. We'd be thankful for any support you can swing our way. So
Few Twitter polls I want to report on here. So I did a few at the end of the season of summation episode. So I asked best season 1 guest. 58% said Christopher McDonald. 33% said Jack Elam and Ernest Borgnine. 9% said Jordan. And 0% said Bob Vila. So Jordan, you were more popular in season 1 than Bob Vila.
Oh, thank goodness.
So good on you. And then I asked, what's the worst episode of season 1? 50% said, what about Bob? So a lot of people lie with me on that one. 33% said Mo Better Blues. 17% said A Battle of Wheels. And 0% said Jill's birthday. Also, I recently retweeted a photo that Tim Allen tweeted that said it's at the office getting ready for Christmas. He's got a Christmas tree up. And there are 2 posters behind. One's of Galaxy Quest and the other's Richer
Or Poorer.
Or Poorer with Kirstie Alley. And yeah, that's basically the Twitter talk this week. So yeah, we continuing to post on that pretty rapidly. And like Jordan said, Facebook, by email, and our website is thehomandpodcast.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting that people, our Twitter fans don't like What About Bob, but everyone on IMDb does.
I can't explain that. Yeah, I was like excited for that one too because it did have the highest rating. But like I told you, I don't know, a couple days ago, For Whom the Bell Tolls has the second lowest IMDb rating for a first season episode, and that is both of our favorites. And What About Bob has the best rating. So I don't know if those are worth a ton.
Yeah, we're out here to change minds, so that's what we're doing so far.
That's what we're out here for.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, do you have a question of the week for me?
Yeah, Jordan, I do. So, Tim gets a letter from Charles Eddington in Grosse Pointe, and it's a letter, he's written because he's mad about something. I just want to know, Jordan, have you ever written like a letter? I'm not even going to say because you're mad about something, but have you ever written any like fan mail or anything for anyone? Anyone or anything? Fan mail? Have you ever written a letter to someone requesting something or because you're upset about something? Kind of a lost art now.
Yeah, kind of a lost art. I mean, I've tweeted at people. You've seen that, and you
That's not what I'm asking you, Jordan.
You tend to enjoy those. I mean, it is
the modern fan mail.
The modern fan mail. It's easier to do that. I'm trying to remember what kind of fan clubs I belonged to when I was younger. I very much like Smallville.
See, like, when I was younger, I used to write letters to, like, professional sports teams and request players' autographs. Like, I remember doing that to the Pistons probably 3 or 4 times.
Did you get anything back?
Yeah, they send you, I mean, it's not like actual autographs, but they send you, like, reprints of, like, I have, like, a Grant Hill autograph reprint or, like, Joe Dumars. And I remember doing that. I think I did it with the Tigers as well when I was a little older and said, like, hey, what kind of jobs could I get if I wanted to work for like, I just did it with a lot of sports teams when I was younger.
And they said you'll one day start a podcast about home improvement.
Yeah, they were the soothsayers, and they predicted it, and I said, gosh, hopefully I'm not doing that at 26, but well, here I am. But you don't think you've never done anything like that, huh?
I'm sure I have, but I don't really remember. I think we talked a little bit before about Mary Kate and Ashley. Maybe I wrote them one because I watched some movies that they had. Billboard Dad and the detective movies.
Well, and as I noted, I was in that fan club. I think that they wrote like they composed letters and they just sent them out to everybody. So like mass letters. I also thought of another one I did. This was more recently. When my dad retired from his vice principal job, I wrote a letter. This was kind of a risk, actually. I wrote a letter to Al Kaline, who's like the greatest Tigers player of all time, and put 2 of my dad's like old baseball cards in there and asked him if he would sign one of them for my dad and wish him a happy retirement and the other one for me. And then, old 1960 baseball cards. So they're worth some money. Put them in an envelope, and like a month later, he returned them. And my dad said, "Happy retirement, Brad, Al Kaline." And then I'm looking at mine right now that he also signed. So
wow, look at Al! Look at Al go!
Yeah, it was
the risk paid off. I invited Mickey and Minnie Mouse to my wedding, and they sent back a nice card. So that was nice.
Did you really do that?
Yeah, I did.
So cool, you're so corny.
I knew that.
You corny!
I knew I was supposed to get a postcard back. I didn't really think they would come, so. But
Lordy,
yeah, I don't know.
man.
I'd have to plumb the depths of my memory at some point and maybe ask my parents if they recall any of that. But
You've blocked out a lot. You've blocked out a lot of your youth, it
yeah,
seems like.
maybe I sent so many, and it was very embarrassing. That
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like and I'm sure that I'm trying to think if I would have sent any more.
I
I don't know. For a while, it was very much a thing that I was doing. Like I was very, I don't know. I just liked doing it, and I liked the prospects of like checking the mailbox and seeing if anything came back. And when it did, very exciting.
Very exciting. I mean, every once in a while now, you'll write me a postcard, so you're still out there sending mail to people, and you just never know who it's going to go to.
Truer words have never been spoken.
What
What are we covering? What are we covering next week?
I was going to
Jordan?
say, here's some true words about next week. We're going to cover episode 2 of season 2, Rights and Wrongs of Passage. So get ready for that, everybody. With that, I guess we got the first episode done of season 2, and hope you like it. And what else, Adam? What do you think you should say?
Well, I guess I should say take care.
Take care, everybody.